All right, and we are up with new equipment. So I just got this microphone, and we're going to try it out. Let me know in the chat how the audio levels are. Um, and of course, I need to begin the stream with the tradition. Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Sugar-free soda, because when you're sitting for hours in coding, why do you need the calories, really? So thank you for joining. This stream, we're going to be working on the expenses panel with Kalling Kingdom. So if this is your first time watching, I'm working on this game, Kalling Kingdom, and it is a fantasy-themed turn-based city simulator. And so what does that mean? Well, you'll see as I play it. But basically, you're building buildings and you're attracting people to a town, and you encounter a number of decisions, and you have to deal with those decisions. You have to decide what to do, really. Okay, so let me switch views here. I always like to start off every stream by talking about elegacorp.com. This is where you can find the live stream schedule all the time, every time. Always, if you ever wonder if a live stream is going to happen, this is where you can go, okay? And it's there on the right, just below the main banner here. Here it is, bam, I'm going to highlight it, boom, okay? Don't miss it. It will always be there. Unless, of course, it isn't, because either the world has ended or because I didn't pay my bills or something of that nature. Speaking of paying bills, you may notice here above that is the main banner where we have merchandise. Feel free to check that out as well. I also have the Kalling Kingdom t-shirts that are available in the Teespring store, available through that banner, so you can go and take a look at that. And of course, there's the banner telling us that we are working on a game called Kalling Kingdom, and we can watch the development live, which is what you're doing now. Here on the left, there are the blog posts for the elegacorp.com blog. And I do plan to do some developer blog type stuff. But having said that, let me go ahead and minimize that, and let's get on with the development. So, how much has been going on the past couple weeks? Because we did skip a week. I did not stream on July 4th because it was July 4th, the American Independence Day. The day of the year in which we consider the United States to have begun. And so hopefully for all of you who live in the United States who are watching, hopefully you had a good day off and did not miss me at all while you were watching fireworks and trying to soothe animals that were freaking out from all the noise, if you have cats or dogs or pets or anything. Anyway, but we're back. So what has happened? What has happened? I completely went off on a tangent there. So I've been working on the event system, right? So maybe it's better if I just show you. So let me hit play. And we're here on the main menu. And let me hit start. And hopefully everything works, right? So one thing that you may notice on the top is there is this, a red coin now in addition to the normal yellow coin. The red coin is the expenses panel. Really just sort of a placeholder thing that I'm doing there. I definitely need to kind of come back and clean that up. Then, of course, we have the expenses in the town, which that's what I'm going to be kind of working on tonight. But everything else is kind of the same. If you've watched any of the previous streams, I can go to the build panel. I can build buildings. These are all placeholder sprites at the moment. I can make offers inside of the people panel to see if people would like to move to the town. And indeed that one did, so now I have a person. And then, of course, I have the market panel, and I can invest money into the market. And then when I do that, I have the option to sell it back. It tells me my rate of return. That is a per turn rate of return. Hopefully I didn't confuse you there. Basically just means over the course of the next turn, you could expect to make maybe about 3% on your current investment. At least that's what it's supposed to mean. I probably need to go through and do sort of a math check on everything to make sure that it all makes sense. But anyway, then I have, let's see. Let me put a building down here. When you place the building down, you can choose to name it something. It doesn't really matter. I'll hit enter, and then now this is called stable. And then when I do that, a new icon appears at the top, and I can match this person with this business. And when I do that, they are now working at that business, and then I can close that out. That is sort of a good portion of the game, and then as I hit next turn, there's a possibility that we will encounter an event. And so let me actually go through and see if I can get that to happen. It usually happens in less than 10 turns. So here's the Starving Traveler scenario. And if you watched the last stream, you probably saw me working on this. I was basically working on how the probability with this works and how the randomization works, so that sometimes this happens, other times you encounter like a monster attack. Anyway, I'll provide aid to the Starving Traveler. It basically says if I don't provide aid to them, they could die. If I take them in, on the other hand, they could be a security risk, and I'll say provide aid. And fortunately, it says they were immensely grateful for my help, and after recovering from their journey, they have chosen to press on to their original destination west of Tren. Tren, by the way, is the town that you're managing. Maybe I might want to change the wording there. I don't know. I'm not sure how many players will know, just at least in the game's current state, that is the name of the town they're managing. But anyway, I'll hit continue, and then it takes us to the turn summary, and we're done. That's basically the majority of the game right there. The thing that is missing is basically like a lot more events, and obviously the graphics and the artwork. Still needs a lot of work there. I'll also just say I was planning to do a release of this onto itch.io at the end of July, and now it's looking like that is not going to happen, unfortunately, because I know how much I get done in 2 weeks, and it's not enough to really finish this in time for a release date in a reasonable fashion. That being said, what I am contemplating doing is kind of moving the full release date to maybe the end of August, and maybe keeping the July release date to throw the game into early access. That way I can at least start getting player feedback and start seeing people do playtesting. Okay, so done with that little demo. So the events, I have this folder here on the code for the city events, and basically we have scenarios for each of the expenses. So you can choose to adjust the town expenses sort of at your own peril. So we have the Starving Traveler scenario right here, and you can see it. I have the text in here. These are all just C# scripts. That's how I'm doing it. And so this is basically showing different scenarios here, and I have the monster attack scenario here. Each one of the events, as it's presented to the player, definitely works a little bit differently. They basically always have two decisions, but you're looking at two very different decisions, and then the outcomes from those decisions, very different things could happen. So for instance, with a monster attack, part of what this actually looks at is the funding that you have going to military. So as well as where you are in the game. So a typical game is 60 turns long, and so if you're at a certain point in the game, if you're middle of the game, end of the game, it sort of affects how much you should have invested in your military. To ramp up and protect against escalating monster attacks as the game presses on. Currently, the way that the mechanic works is you should be investing more into military the longer the game goes on, and the safer you will be from the monster attacks. So the expenses work sort of a similar way at the moment. Let's see, what did I start on? Did I start on the waste or the water? I think the water. No? Infrastructure? I started on one of these. Administration. I started on administration. So if you completely defund administration, it'll basically throw up a prompt on the screen letting the player know, hey, like, this is like super dangerous what you're doing. In fact, I think it's here in Game Manager. Let me look for it. Admin. Yeah, so I have like all of these events that show up. These events, so kind of the way the system works, the event system, which is very intricately tied with this expenses system that I'm doing, is you have a number of potential events that can happen to the city at the beginning of the game. Those persist over time, and they are sort of things that could happen at any point throughout any turn. Now, granted, depending on the conditions of where you are in that given turn, that can certainly affect, what's happening. But then we have other things that can happen with expenses. So if you defund certain categories completely, I let the player take it down to 0, it will throw in a potential event that can happen. If you fund things down to 0, the game is immediately going to throw an event at you because bad things immediately start to happen. So for example, if you completely defund waste, it says, because waste management has been completely defunded, citizen waste has begun to overflow from the sewage system into the streets. This is becoming dangerous and could soon lead to disease. Waste management should be refunded to avoid the breakout of disease and other health problems. And then your two choices is you can either do nothing and continue. Don't do that. That's not a good idea. Or you can fund waste management. Basically, with each of these things, the numbers are very small. You have to put at least one unit of currency every turn into funding waste. Otherwise, really bad things happen. But what happens? Well, so I have this other thing that I'm doing, which is basically called City Effects. And I kind of started on this previously, but the idea of the city effect is that it lasts over a number of turns. It affects a particular variable, and at the end of it, there may or may not be sort of final things that happen. So in the case of waste management, I think what I'm going to do is have something in there that says, you know what? If the player chooses not to fund waste processing over several turns, we're eventually going to have people, maybe have a few people die, and then after that, people just start leaving your town like crazy because everything is disgusting. And then, of course, because everyone leaves your town, you're not making any money from business. And then the only thing you have left at that point to survive, I guess, is whatever you have invested in the market. But of course, if the market goes negative, you're kind of back to square one. There's a lot of different places I could go with this particular mechanic, though, as you can tell. By the way, I see some of you in chat. Could you let me know, if you can, how the audio level is? Because I am using this new mic, and I have the gain kind of turned up fairly high based on some previous tests I was doing, and the audio level here in OBS Studio is all the way up as well. So if it's too loud, please let me know, or if it's too quiet as well. Okay, so a few different things to work on. There's a lot to get done around the expense categories, so I'll probably be working on that through most of the stream. And then for the city effects, like the multi-turn stuff, we'll see if we can get there toward the end this evening. But there's decent chance that we won't, because there is a lot to do with just the initial wave of event work that has to be done here. And of course, I'll be going through and doing some playtesting as well, and just kind of playing the game and seeing how things feel and things like that. As well as kind of hunting for bugs and doing some general testing, right? Because I just got done with this expenses panel like maybe a few days ago, sort of. And there's already kind of some wonky things that I had encountered and that I fixed. So, by the way, just to show you, I can go ahead and turn military way down, and that brings us to 6 instead of 10 on the per turn expenses. I'll bring infrastructure down to 1. I'll leave everything else at 1. And that puts us, that basically cuts our expenses in half. And then that means with businesses, we can start getting a little bit of positive cash flow. So I'll throw down a stable. I think part of this I haven't really tried out yet, and just to see how it feels with gameplay. I still need to go back and update how these offers work, because there needs to be like an indication to the player, hey, someone has rejected your offer or they're accepting it. And that needs to be clearly indicated, but it's not currently. Currently, I just have to know that it's there, or if you're watching me play, you can kind of know that it's there, right? But kind of sucks right now, just the way it is. And then another thing that really needs to happen before release is this whole business and people panel. I've been saying for weeks and weeks now that this needs to go away, and it never has, and it does. It still needs to go away. I still need a better way to have people manage how people and businesses in the game are matched up. I do like this little UI thing that kind of shows this little graphic that's indicating how much income is coming in. But anyway, okay, so I got a couple stables. I'm going to leave it there and then throw everything else into the market, I think. Throw about 230 in there. That should be good. Next turn. Tax revenue 8, expenses 5. Wow. How did I do that? So I got net positive cash flow. What I'm interested to see, though, is I'm interested to see if I can get like a monster attack to happen. And then see if, because I've reduced military so much, my mechanics kind of work out the way I expect. No, I don't want 10 going in there. I'm just going to put my positive cash flow into the market and keep going. And get a little bit of compound interest magic happening. Rate of return is at 7%, turn 3. Population only 2 people, but that's okay. Invest, okay. Next turn, next. And I'm just going to keep going with this. Maybe I'll hit an event here pretty soon. Generally happens by turn 10, just based on probability. It's possible for nothing to happen, because it's kind of like a dice roll. It's just like a random number comparison every turn. But, and I forget what I set the probability at for monster attacks, but still going here. Market rate of return is coming way, way back down, so I'm going to sell. I'm just going to sell everything right now. I know it's still positive, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it, and then kind of get some additional buildings and people going. And because I had sort of cut all of that on military, everything is fantastic at the moment, but, you know, that could go south really quick, because I'm kind of taking a risk by not having much of anything at all put into the military at the moment. And those are the kinds of things that I really want the players to be thinking about whenever they're going through the game. I want them to, over at least several playthroughs, I want them to be able to kind of feel like they can weigh the odds and, you know, kind of consider if things are worth taking a chance on and things like that. Okay, so I think I'm going to hold there. I have a little bit of income here from the farms and the stables. Next. But because the market rate of return has gone down, I'm still only getting a very small net positive return. And from here, Looks like we're headed toward a market downturn, which means I'm going to have to kind of hang in there for a little bit while the market goes negative. And this is the point where I'm starting to go cash negative because I'm bringing in 4 off of taxes, but then only 5 off of the expenses. Why am I bringing in 4 off of taxes? Because the market rate of return has gone down, and thus our businesses are beginning to struggle. So, how do I break even? Well, maybe I can reduce administration down to 0. See if that works. Oh, no. So, yeah, so you can kind of see where this is going. It immediately is like, a series of clerical errors has led to some financial miscalculations. To resolve the issue, we need to fund administration immediately to prevent any major mistakes. What would you like to do? And I'll say, oh, okay, fine, I'll fund it. And it says, success, administration's been funded. Okay, that's fine, whatever. Continue. And if I go back to the expenses panel, oh, that's no good. See, what it should do is it should set that back to 1. But I wonder if it's actually a display error. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that is a display error because the total still shows 5, which means 1 is set back somewhere in here. So that's a bug. I need to fix that. So that's something I can do as well. So, okay, total 5K. Let me go to next turn. And it's still saying I'm at 0. Weird. Okay, so something's going wrong with the UI panel there. Okay, let me just switch. Oh, see? Now it goes to 3. What? Okay, something dumb is happening in the code that I need to fix. So you can see it jumped from like 0 to 3, and then I had to kind of step it back down. Okay, so I think in the event I need to send a call to update the panel, because right now nothing is updating it. All right, next. Oh no! Okay, this is not working properly. Continue with that action. Oh, I can't do that. It doesn't do anything yet. Okay, fund administration. What is the deal with that? I am funding it. No. I don't know what's going on. Okay, all right. Something is broken. So now I know I can at least go in and fix this. Okay, so let's take a look at the code. Okay. So all the expenses are stored in a dictionary in the game manager. City event manager, game manager, expense type to expense, administration. Okay. Administration 1, and then I need to add that back in, I guess. So that's part of the problem. Administration.amount. So that's the expense. So then I need to say city event manager. Oh gosh, I didn't think about this. I think if I try to do this with an existing key, it won't let me just completely overwrite it. Yeah, I can't just do an add. Can I do like a replace or something? So there's a problem here, which is this dictionary over in Game Manager stores the expense object in memory. So expense type to expense. So if I go to the first reference, this is basically you can throw out the expense type and you can get back the object. The problem is that there's another reference to the object that also goes into the list, which is really no good. Because the list gets populated and then it's used elsewhere. I guess what I need to do instead is I need to get rid of the list and then go through the values returned from the dictionary. I think I can do that. So let me see if I can make that happen here. Expense type to expense values. Is that just a property? Or is that a method? So I think I need to just say list expense, current expenses. Cannot convert string value to list expense. Are you sure? What if I cast it? Still no, right? Okay. Value collection. Cannot be used like a method. So it is like, I guess, a property. What is it returning though? Dictionary string. Value collection? Why? Why C#? Values. Is there anything I can do after that? Values. So dumb. So now I have to go and like figure out. I've always found the C# dictionary thing to just be weird. Like any other programming language, for whatever reason, it's always easier to work with key value pairs than in C#, I feel like. Maybe there's some implementation reason why that's the case, like performance reasons or something, but I've always felt like it's just such a hassle. I'm about to just go through the order of the values in the value collection is unspecified, but it is the same order as the associated keys in the dictionary of type key to value. Key collection returned by the keys property. The value collection is not a static copy. Instead, the value collection refers back to the values in the original value. Therefore, changes to key value continue to be reflected in the value collection. Yes, I get that. That doesn't tell me anything. How do I get the values out? Value collection. Copy 2 copies the value collection elements to an existing one-dimensional array starting at the specified array index. Gosh, that's really dumb. So what does that mean? Does that mean that I can basically make an expense array, expense current expenses? I'm just going to call this current expenses array list. No, I don't want to cast it. So then the values copy to, oh, I see. So if I initialize the array, so let me do that. I'll initialize the array with new expense. And then with this, I think the syntax for this is I can do expense type to expense values.count, and that works. Maybe I'm forgetting that. What happens if I save? No, that's still wrong. It doesn't like that. Expense, I remember there was some way to do this, like you initialize the array size to like allocate it. Okay. Good lord, my brain is failing me tonight. C# array. Let me just do that. Can't remember syntax to save my life. Yeah, new int 4. Declare a single dimensional array. Yep, that's what I'm trying to do. That is exactly what I'm trying to do right there. Maybe I can't do it with this custom class, with this custom type. Expense type to expense. Well, how about I just do the count of the dictionary? Does that work? No. Am I doing something really dumb? I feel like I am. I have to be. Oh, maybe I just need brackets. I bet I need empty brackets. I bet I was super close. No, I wasn't. A constant value is expected. Okay. Good lord. Well, can I throw it into a variable and then it's constant all of a sudden? Number of expenses. Expense type to expense dot values dot count. Now it is a stable int. Number of expenses. A constant value is expected. I don't get it. Every time I come through and I initialize this array, it is a different number, potentially. And I understand that, and I'm fine with that. So why does this not let me continue? So if I set this at 0, does it allow that? No. If I put this at 0, does it allow that? Yes. Wow, that's dumb. Are you kidding me? It's the exact same value. I put it into a variable and now I can't reference it? What? Okay. Geez, this is like a long detour. My mind is blown right now. I just don't understand. Okay. Okay, whatever. That's fine. Here, we'll just make an array. Can we at least do that? No? Must have an array size or array initializer. Invalid expression term equal sign. So what is this? I'm sorry for those of you who are watching. I know my brain just is not working tonight. I don't know what the issue is that it's having with my syntax. Okay, what if I do this? What if I just do like 50? And then just do like that? What? Oh my goodness. I'm dumb. I knew I was dumb. I knew there was something dumb around here. For those of you who are watching, can you see it? Are any of you coders who are watching? It's this right here on the next line. That's the thing that it's complaining about. Wow. Oh my gosh. Kill me. Okay. All right, we've initialized the array. Now what do we need? We need the, okay, expenses array, expense type, values, copy to. Then I need the current expenses array at index 0. That's it. That's it. Now we're going to reference the array. Instead of .count, we do .length, because that's how arrays work. Right, kids? Okay. All right, so that may be all I need to do. Let me go to anywhere else current expenses is referenced. And for this, I'm going to reference the map, or I'm sorry, the dictionary. That's what happens when you go to your day job all day, and dictionaries in Salesforce are actually called maps. Totally different data type, but it's the same thing. That's the Salesforce Apex programming language. Never mind. Okay, so expense type to expense dot values dot count, please. Yes. And then the current expense values dot count. Let me do keys dot count. Keys dot count. Expense type to expense. Can I do an index here? Index of I? No. That's what I would like to do. Oh, expense type to I think I know what to do. I think I can do expense type to expense dot keys at index of I. No. Cannot apply indexing with brackets to an expression of type dictionary dot key collection. Of course I can't, because that would be too easy. Thank you, C#. You're so helpful. Wow. Wow. I'm really beginning to question my decision about dictionaries right now. Because it's really ridiculous, the idea that I would copy all of this out to an array before I can even reference it. That seems really excessive. Like, really excessive. So is there no way to reference the key collection? I don't understand how they've structured this. Maybe I should just start calling the stream Adventures with Microsoft and the decisions they've made. Key collection, no, value collection class. Key collection. Let's read about that. Inheritance object to dictionary key collection, okay. Returns a string that represents the current object. That's not going to work. So they give me no way to pull out the key from the key value pair. They give me no way to actually give me the value. Remove nodes elements as copy to data to. Oh my gosh. Wow. I really, really hate this. This is awful. Do I need to like write my own key value pair data structure? Hang on a second. C#. I'm curious. Alternative to dictionary. I just wonder if there's like someone else who's been bothered by this the way that I have so far. Or maybe there's just something I don't know. That's possible too. Using a list of type will be enough in this case. Well, this is unfortunate, I have to say. I'm going to have to go through and gut the references here. And it's already 7:41 p.m. Central Time. This is what we're doing on today's stream. We're looking at C# data structures. Kids? I don't know why I keep saying kids. Maybe it's just because, obviously, this is not something you would ever be put through the horrible experience of learning about in school. I don't know. I don't know why I keep saying that. Okay, let me remove current expenses. Actually, maybe I don't want to remove that. Current expenses... Jeez, I'm wondering what's quicker. What is computationally faster? Is copying all of the keys into an array faster? Or is storing some other data structure faster? Part of me just says, hey, don't worry about it. Just copy the array and move on. But then the other part of me is just saying, well, what does that mean? Like, what are they doing there? Like, why? I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be so, like, irritated by it, but I am. I don't know. Expense type to expense keys.count. Okay, all right. Well, whatever. So I guess I'll just do this. Expense. We'll just see if this works, I guess. We can start there, and then I'll just work on maybe cleaning it up. I don't know. Current expenses. I'll do it the same way I did up there. Current expenses array. You know what? I can make this global, and then I can update it. Yeah. And by global, I mean public. So I think I'm going to do it that way. So what I'll do is so where's current expenses? Current expenses, I'm going to get rid of that. And instead, I'm going to do public expense. And I'm going to do a single dimensional array. Current expenses. In fact, I'm going to call that current expenses. New expense, and we'll initialize it. And I'm gonna have to go through and remove references here. So we're gonna take that out, and then we're gonna go to current expenses array, and we're gonna replace this with current expenses. There we go. But then we don't need the initializer here. So when we apply the expenses, it's changing. But you know, the expenses don't need to change for the entire game. I really just need to initialize this once, and then I'm good. So I should do that. Because people shouldn't be changing which expenses they have during the game. Watch, like 15 years from now, there's going to be some modder who watches this video and he's like, he did what? That screws up everything. Okay, so current expenses, initialize expenses. So this should not return a list. This will return, well, it can, but it has to return the array. So yeah. So it has to return expense array. What is it? Push? Something like that? What is it for array? I forget. Current expenses. Oh my gosh, I forgot. Arrays you have to like initialize as. Okay. Expense. Oh, I know what I can do. I'll make the array up here. Expenses. Oh, but it's not going to let me do... That's so ridiculous, man. So ridiculous. Okay, so we have, let's see, expense attributes. Hang on. Expense attributes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, I'll do that, sure. Why not? This is just crazy. Oh, expense 5. Okay, so then I can do the index of I. Current expenses at I is the new expense. Okay. Current expense taken care of. Current expenses, current expenses. But then this does not need to be reinitialized every time, so I can get rid of this. There we go. Current expenses dot length. Very good. This can be removed. We can keep the shortfall events thing going on here. And then this is current expenses at index of I. And this can really just be current expenses dot length, which makes a little more sense. Current expenses, okay. Wow. I'm expecting a lot of compiler errors because who knows where else I've referenced that over time. Type expense does not contain a definition for count. What did I miss? Oh, UI manager. Current expenses dot length. Thank you very much. I know there's some people out there with some pretty strong opinions about arrays versus lists. Arrays are generally faster and better if you know how to use them, because lists have more unnecessary sort of overhead and structure around them. Oh no! Okay. So I gotta go fix a few things apparently. They're happening at runtime now because I've changed this. Game Manager line 652. So, Game Manager, what's going on here? Line 652. Current what? Okay. Expense types. Really? That's... Seriously? Okay. Time to debug, I guess, already. I don't know what this has an issue with. Okay, I is at 0. Expense type to add. Expense type to expenses. Yep. Next. So, we can't do this. We need to return output. Output of I, and then we return. Oh, then what we need to do is we need to say current expenses is output, and then we return. We can return current expenses at that point. That's fine, but I forgot to set the array there. Okay, so that's fixed, I think. Should be, at least. This is programming. This is development. This is how it works. Oh my gosh. The game works again. But at what cost? Goodness. Okay, so how did I get started on all this? I don't even remember. I was doing something. Oh yes, the admin defunded thing. That got us off on this entire thing. That was so long ago. That was like 40 minutes ago. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, administration dot amount. UI populate city event result panel. So I also need city event manager dot game manager dot UI manager dot populate expense. No. Expenses. Display expenses panel? No, I don't need that. Wait a second. Let me look at that code. Display expenses panel. Update expense total. Makes sense. So, expense. I need to know. I need to find where the expenses panel is populated. Let me find the reference. Expenses panel total. Oh, gosh. How did I do this? I think I gave it its own thing, maybe. It's expense button. Yes, I did. Oh, why did I do it this way? Oh, I played myself. So I put this into a component. The component is attached to a button. There's no way to easily reference the button from where it needs to be referenced from. I'm sad to say. Well, I can do change expense. I can do that. So never mind. I'm still good. So I can do change expense. Oh no, but I can't get to the text panel that way. Can I? Text.text. Oh no. Okay. So, some streams, things progress at a very natural, sort of fast rate. With this stream, this is one of the sort of the off ones. This is okay. So, yeah, sometimes this is what the stream is like. Other times, it's very smooth. Anyway, I'm probably only gonna keep going for about another 10 minutes. If any of you have questions, now is the time to shoot them out. And as I'm kind of continuing to plow through this, I'll try and answer any questions you have in chat if any of you have any. But so what it looks like I have to do is I have to change the way that the expense amounts are referenced in the UI, unfortunately. Unfortunately. That's the only way I'm going to be able to update those amounts. And I don't know how I missed that originally. I guess I just really didn't think this through enough. I realize now it's actually easier if I just do what I was going to do but wanted to avoid because things are getting crazy and cluttered. So like in the UI manager class, I have references to all these different things, right? Like you can see it here in the mini map on the right. I have so many references to so many variables. So many things are being held in memory, and it's just a ton of lines. And I thought to myself, gosh, that's really crazy. But now I'm realizing, you know what? It's not that crazy. It's not as crazy as like having to like go through the effort of figuring out how to get to this thing. This sucks. So I'm just going to go through and start adding the text for every expense category. It's so dumb, and it's not elegant at all, but it's going to work. So I'm just going to do it. And I'm trying to release the game soon. I could figure out some nicer way to do it. I really could. And you know, later I'll go back and I'll figure something out, but it's going to have to come later. The problem is that I need to do enough so that I can kind of just knock out what works for the base game for the full 60 turn playthrough, start to finish, all the events, all the graphics, and once everything feels complete the way that it's supposed to feel, then I can go back and start really doing what needs to be done on this code, I think. The code is going to perform well, and that's fine. It isn't very pretty. It's not very well organized. It's just kind of a giant mess. And I do hate that. I do hate to kind of leave things that way. But for the purposes of this, for the time being, I'm just going to plow through this and get it done. So like for this will be like waste. I'll just say waste. And so, yeah, so I'm going to start referencing all these text variables. Water, public, text, expenses, panel, military, public, text, expenses, panel, infrastructure, public text, expenses panel, wastewater, military infrastructure. I'm missing one. What am I missing? Water? No. What am I missing? Game manager. Expense button. Expense attributes. Administration. That's it. That's what I'm... Okay. Administration. Okay. Oh my goodness. Well, I guess one thing that's okay is I can leave the expense button component how it is, and it can still reference the text, but I'm just going to have to reference it from the UI manager as well. And then both things will be allowed to manipulate the same thing. Not really going to be a problem because you're not going to be automatically updating things. You're not going to be automatically like updating the expense from the event decision panel while also then trying to manipulate the expenses from the expenses panel, because two panels will not be open at the same time. That probably made no sense to you, but hey, Trust me, it makes sense if you know the game well enough. Okay, so this is going to be called populate. Actually, you know what? Expense. Let me see if I can do like update public void update expense panel. And then I could do expense type, expense amount. I might be able to just do this instead. Oh my gosh. So I need to take this whole thing right here. Go to UI Manager. So oh my goodness. If expense type is military, updated expense. What was that over here? Updated expense. Oh, change expense. Oh, I see. Okay. Oh my gosh. I really wish I would have written this differently now. This is such a headache. Okay, and we have officially spent an hour coding. Isn't this great? Isn't this what all of you want to do for a living? Oh my gosh. Okay. Now, from here, I'm going to say, do I do any kind of a... okay. whatever. UI manager. Update expense panel. Expense type. Updated expense. Expense type maximum. Yay, we did it. Oh, actually, I don't need to do that here. I don't need to do that here, but I do need to do this from the city event script. Where is that? Administration defunded. Finally, we are back to this. Wow. Wow. Okay. Display city event result panel. City event manager dot game manager dot UI man. Oh, actually, I can just paste from here. The expense type. Okay, so when I do the change expense, update expense total, updated expense amount to string game. Okay, so this actually does change it for me. So I should use that same one, actually. So for this, I should say, I should do this. I don't want to manipulate that directly. I want to say city event manager dot game manager dot UI manager, change expense. The type is administration. The amount is the amount plus 1? No, the amount is 1. I want to increase it by 1. I think that's what the code is doing. No, it's not. It is directly applying the amount. Okay, never mind. Dot amount plus 1. Update expense panel. So then I need the maximum. Oh. Which I can get from the game manager, I guess. So that's fine. Int maximum for admin. So I'll say city event manager dot game manager expense type. No, expense attributes dot expense type to expense maximum. Try get value administration out maximum for admin. And that is how I'm going to do that. Maximum for admin. Expense type maximum. Oops. Copy. Paste and paste. Expense type maximum. Expense type is administration. And for the change expense, I can get that. Updated expense. Oh my goodness. Did I actually do it? Finally? That was horrible. Now let's see if it works. I bet it doesn't even compile. I don't know. We'll find out. Okay. Infrastructure, good. So, right away, take that down to 0. Bam. Next turn. Continue. Oh, no. Now I'm not getting the event. Why? That's odd. Okay. Well, now that leads me to another bug. So I'll go ahead and fix that now, but I'm not going to put everyone else through that. I'll go ahead and call the stream there. Thank you so much to those of you who are still in chat, who were still watching this entire thing until the very end. It was particularly painful tonight, but thank you so much for hanging in with me and hanging out. Wow, that was just horrible. Jeez. But hey, that's game development at times. I think right now in the project, I'm in the pit of despair section of the development, the project timeline, if you will. By the way, I don't talk about this nearly enough, but here on elegacorp.com under the community tab, there is the YouTube channel. Please, 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 those of you who are watching, go subscribe to it. It is wonderful. We have all of the previous streams here on this playlist called Kalling Kingdom Dev Streams. If you're wondering how all of this started, you can go here to the YouTube channel and you can look at all of the previous streams, every single one, and you can see how this entire thing began as something that barely functions and has advanced to the broken thing that barely functions now. But anyway, and I am going to be working on some other content here. Some of you who maybe are just joining on the game development stream, you're not aware, but I used to produce a lot of other kinds of content. I have stuff here about software, about programming, about becoming a developer, and I used to do this series here called Gamefinity, and that was basically like Nintendo-focused content and stuff like that. I have some new things that I'm wanting to do later in the somewhat near future, and those will be going here on the Elega Corp YouTube channel as well. So again, please subscribe there. Subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube right now and you are not subscribed, then it's time to subscribe. You could be watching this on a recording right now. And if you haven't hit the subscribe button, I don't know what you're doing, but you should hit the subscribe button. And if you are subscribed already, then thank you so much. All right, so that is it. That's the stream. I will see everyone next week. We will be back same time, same place next week, 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you can go to elegacorp.com. It looks like this if you're looking at the screen right now. And we'll be back Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye.